السلام علیکم. میں اس وقت ڈاکٹر فاریہ بخاری پاکستان اسلام پازیٹیو لیگ کی چیئرپرسن یہاں پر لائیو کراچی پریس کلب پہ آئی ہوئی ہوں. آج میں نے احتجاج کرنے کا جو فیصلہ کیا ہے اس کی بہت بڑی وجہ جو ہے وہ ہمارے معاشرے میں بڑھتی ہوئی ولگیرٹی ہے اور حکومت کا اس کے بارے میں کوئی پراپر قدم نہ اٹھانا ہے. ہم نے نوٹ کیا ہے کہ جیسے جیسے وقت گزر رہا ہے پاکستان کو سیکولرائز کرنے کی پوری کوششیں ہو رہی ہیں ٹو دا پوائنٹ کہ اب پانی سر کے اوپر سے گزر چکا ہے. جو بچیاں مڈل کلاس فیملی سے کنزرویٹو ویلیوز لے کر میڈیا پہ کام کرنے کے لیے نکلتی ہیں ان کو عریانیت کے اوپر مجبور کیا جاتا ہے. ان کو کہا جاتا ہے کہ اگر وہ ولگیرٹی نہیں کریں گی، اگر وہ غلط کام نہیں کریں گی تو وہ سکسیسفل نہیں ہو سکیں گی. یہ بڑھتی ہوئی عریانیت کا ایک بہت بڑا سبب عورت کی ریپریشن، عورت کی ہیومن رائٹ ابیوز ہے جو پاکستان کے میڈیا میں عام ہے. شوبز انڈسٹری میں، ماڈلنگ انڈسٹری میں، ایڈورٹائزنگ انڈسٹری میں اس وقت پاکستان کی عورت کو مجبور کیا جا رہا ہے کہ وہ ولگیرٹی کو اپنائے اور اپنے ماں باپ کے بتائے ہوئے اسلامی اقدار، کلچرل اقدار کو کلوزٹ میں بند کر دے اگر وہ چاہتی ہے کہ وہ پاکستان کی شوبز انڈسٹری میں کامیاب ہو. اور عمران خان صرف ایک چھوٹا سا اسٹیٹمنٹ دیتے ہیں کہ پاکستان میں پردہ ہونا چاہیے، پاکستان میں ولگیرٹی ختم ہونی چاہیے، اور یہاں پہ ہیومن رائٹس آرگنائزیشنز شور مچا دیتی ہیں. کون ہے یہ ہیومن رائٹس آرگنائزیشنز؟ یہ ہیومن رائٹس آرگنائزیشنز اس وقت پاکستان کی عورتوں کو اوپنلی ریپریس کر رہی ہیں، ان کی فریڈم کو اپریس کر رہی ہیں، ان کو مجبور کروا رہی ہیں کہ وہ اپنے ماں باپ کی بتائی ہوئی آئیڈیالوجی اور اپنے ماں باپ کی بتائی ہوئی جو خاندانی ویلیوز ہیں ان کو چھوڑ کر عریانیت کو اپنائیں، کیونکہ اس کے بغیر وہ کامیاب نہیں ہو سکیں گی. جب ایک عورت کو پتہ ہو کہ اس کی کامیابی کی بنیاد اس کے ٹیلنٹ پر نہیں ہے، اس کی کامیابی کی بنیاد جو ہے اس کے آرٹسٹک سکلز پہ نہیں ہے، بلکہ اس کی عریانیت کی طرف رجحان کر کے، عریانیت کو ایکسیپٹ کر کے، ولگیرٹی کو ایکسیپٹ کر کے ولگر بننے میں ہے، تو وہ عورت ایبیوز ہو کر، مجبور ہو کر ولگر بننے پر مجبور ہو جاتی ہے. اس چیز کا صرف ایک علاج ہے اور وہ علاج یہ ہے کہ گورنمنٹ کی طرف سے ایک لا پاس ہونا چاہیے کہ جس میں یہ کہا جائے کہ عورت، ہر عورت جو کسی بھی انسٹیٹیوشن میں کام کر رہی ہے، چاہے وہ بینک ہے، چاہے وہ کوئی کارپوریشن ہے، چاہے وہ کوئی بھی کمپنی ہے، اس کا دوپٹہ لینا لازمی ہے. چاہے وہ میڈیا پہ کام کر رہی ہے، چاہے وہ لا انفورسمنٹ ایجنسی میں کام کر رہی ہے، چاہے وہ پالیٹیشین ہے اور وہ پارلیمنٹ میں جا رہی ہے، چاہے وہ سوشل میڈیا پہ ویلاگ کر رہی ہے، اگر وہ پاکستان کی سرزمین پر کام کر رہی ہے تو گورنمنٹ کو چاہیے کہ ہر صورت میں اس کے اوپر دوپٹہ لازم کریں. جب آپ گورنمنٹ کی طرف سے یہ لازم کرو گے تو پھر کسی بھی تھرڈ پارٹی کو، بلیک میلر کو، coercive element को मौका नहीं मिलेगा कि वो उसका दुपट्टा उतरवा सके, कि वो उसको उरियानी से भरे हुए कपड़े पहनवा सके, ये कहकर कि अगर तुमने ऐसा नहीं किया तो तुम्हें बैन कर दिया जाएगा, तुम्हें इंडस्ट्री से निकाल दिया जाएगा और तुम एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करोगी, तुमसे तुम्हारा काम ले लिया जाएगा. I think this is a women abuse of the worst kind, where a Pakistani woman in media, in showbiz, in modeling has to prove her worth, has to prove her art, has to prove her talent by taking her clothes off. And there's a reason why they are promoting this vulgarity. This vulgarity is being pumped by these so-called secular human rights organizations who think that by coercing a woman to take her clothes off in order to prove her talent, in order to prove her art, in order to prove her success, they are doing a favor and they are liberating that woman, when the reality is just the opposite. These organizations are in reality objectifying the women of Pakistan, converting them into sex objects when they try to become successful on the basis of their art, on the basis of their talent, on the basis of their credentials. If the biggest credential of a woman is to be that she has to take her clothes off and consider this to be the biggest parameter of her success, which is what it is right now in Pakistan's institutions, including the media industry, including the social media, then this is very much repression of freedom of millions of women who are trying to make a name in a male-dominated society. We cannot allow this abuse to go on. If there's a government-mandated law that every woman has to wear a dupatta and vulgarity will be penalized, not just the woman, not the woman, but vulgarity will be penalized by restricting the media that she's working for, then we can curb down on the accelerated vulgarity in the Pakistan society. But in order to have so many guts to be able to do so, Imran Khan has to come beyond his speeches and try to deliver what he promised. What we are seeing right now is conversion of the so-called Riyasat-e-Fitna, so-called Riyasat-e-Madina of Pakistan into an evolving Riyasat-e-Fitna. We're taking the clothes off on social media, on mainstream media, in dramas. It's become fashionable. Just look at the television awards. Look how the celebrities are dressing themselves up. Nobody wants to wear lehengas anymore. Nobody wants to wear dupattas anymore. Everybody's trying to copy Hollywood. When the reality is, this country is not the United States. This country is not Europe. This country is Pakistan that was built in the name of Islam. And even if you're a non-Muslim living within Pakistan, we still have the Asian culture that strictly condemns vulgarity and profanity. If you look at the history of Asian culture, it does not promote vulgarity and profanity as compared to the Western culture. So you do not have to be a Muslim of Pakistan to condemn the rising vulgarity, the rising objectification and sexualization of Pakistani women. It's a human rights issue. It's a women abuse issue. It is rising at an alarming rate. I'm a woman, and I think it is a humiliation of the worst kind. It is the worst kind of disrespect you can give to your colleague by implying that she has to take her clothes off in order to prove herself, in order to be successful, in order to be considered a good actress, in order to be considered a successful celebrity. This culture has to stop. This is in conflict with not just our Islamic ideology, but in conflict with the ancient Asian culture. And these Western-sponsored human rights organizations are trying to secularize Pakistan, and they think this is modernism. But what it's doing is it's precipitating a vicious cycle of abuse. When women choose to become vulgar at work in the media, the celebrities I'm talking about, it precipitates conversion of men into sex predators that actually accelerates assaults, that actually accelerates rapes and sexual violence. This is a vicious cycle. Jemima Goldsmith, raised in a Western society, cited Quran to contend with her ex-husband. And she said that men have to behave themselves. Yes, men are told by Quran to behave themselves. But Jemima forgot to mention what Quran has told women to do. How Quran has told the women to dress up. How Quran has told Muslim women to behave. This cannot be said that the onus is on the men only. It is the job of both men and women to create a healthy environment where women are given equal opportunities like men at work, not on the basis of if they can take their clothes off, but on the basis of their credentials, on the basis of their qualification, on the basis of their talent, on the basis of their artistic flair. If a woman is told that you have to strip in order to show your worth and to be successful by anyone, then that person is her worst enemy, and she should never, ever stay in contact with that person. I think we are having a significant lack of action from the part of the government to secure the human rights of women who are forced to dump their ideology in order to be accepted at work. This has to be stopped because as an Islamic society, it is imperative to ensure that we give 100% security to women at work, and they are judged not on the basis of their gender. They are judged not on the basis of what clothes they are wearing. They are judged not on the basis of their lipstick color. They are judged not on the basis of their attire, but they are judged on the basis of their talent. They are judged on the basis of their credentials. They are judged on the basis of their qualifications. They are judged on the basis of their artistic abilities. We are failing as a state. In the disguise of this secularization, which is so openly welcomed by a few sponsored human rights organizations, we have technically destroyed the entire infrastructure of Pakistan's family system. We are losing the institution of marriage every day. We are seeing births of illegitimate children every day. We are going to lose our elderly to old homes like the West. We are going to start breeding here like animals do, until and unless there is some solid and some tangible action taken by the government of Pakistan. You cannot create Riyasat-e-Madina like this. You are actually creating Riyasat-e-Fitna right now. That's what you're doing, Imran Khan. Your own ex-wife does not know the Quran enough to know that the responsibility of developing a healthy environment in a healthy society does not just rest upon the men. It rests very much upon the women. And it is an equal responsibility, and both have equal accountability. Men are to be punished for their transgressions as much as women. Allah is not going to tell on the day of judgment that, oh, you are a woman, so I let you go. No. Both men and women are going to be punished equally for any transgressions. So if a woman said on the day of judgment that it was his fault, Allah is not going to say that it was just his fault, because Allah is fair. Allah is neutral. Allah does not discriminate. Allah does not do prejudice. Allah is beyond all these negativities. Allah has created us. Allah loves us equally, in spite of what our gender is, in spite of what our color is, in spite of what our religion is, in spite of what our nationality is, in spite of what our sect is. Don't tell me it is just the responsibility of men when it is the responsibility of both men and women. But it has to start from the point where we give protection to the women in the media so that they don't feel compelled to dump their parents' values in order to be accepted, in order to be successful. The government has to make dupatta mandatory at work. Whether you are working in a hospital, whether you're working in the court, whether you're working in the bank, whether you're working in any educational institution or studying in any educational institution, whether you're working on the media, whether you're an actress, whether you are a model, whether you are just a vlogger or a social media activist, if your dupatta is made mandatory, no human being could coerce you, could blackmail you into losing your cultural values, losing your ideologies in order to be accepted, in order to be called successful, in order to be given an opportunity to perform on the basis of your talent, on the basis of your art, on the basis of your credentials and your qualifications. Imran Khan has to come out of his closet of tweets and speeches. He has to do something that will work and make a strong impact in the lives of millions of Pakistanis. Protection of women is the responsibility of the state. Women right now are not protected, and this is why vulgarity is rising in the media, and it is having a negative, vicious cycle effect on millions of Pakistanis who are now addicted to pornography, to vulgarity, precipitating more vulgarity, more profanity, losing the entire institution of marriage, the entire basic cultural foundation of this country. We cannot allow the people to be converted into sex predators. We cannot allow our women to be abused anymore, whether they're at work, whether they're on campus, whether they're at home. I am not blaming a woman for being raped. No, a woman cannot be blamed for being raped, but the state can be blamed for not implementing effective measures to stop such events. We have to bring extraordinary measures in order to beat the secularized human rights organizations who are technically repressing millions of working women of Pakistan by telling them that it is not their talent that will measure their worth or their success, but it is their ability to take their clothes off. This cannot be allowed over here, otherwise our beautiful, honorable women will be converted into sex machines by these so-called pro-freedom, secularized human rights organizations. And it is the duty of Imran Khan to come out of his tweet land, to come out of his speech land and try to do something for good, for once, that's effective, that's tangible, that can be worked upon. I'm here today to demand from the government of Pakistan to make dupatta mandatory at work, to make dupatta mandatory on media, to make dupatta mandatory on social media, to make dupatta mandatory in educational institutions, to make dupatta mandatory in all corporations of Pakistan. It has to be done to protect the women from sexual violence, from sexual blackmailing, from sexual coercion. It has to be done now to safeguard the cultural and Islamic values of Pakistan. It has to be done right this minute in the name of freedom of my sisters, my daughters, my mothers, my children who are being abused every second in this country just because they're women and they're blackmailed and coerced to do what they don't want to do. We can talk about this, but without proper laws, without proper implementation of these laws, we cannot have results. We cannot save our society. I'm a woman, I'm alone. Today I'm here to do what all of you should have done a long time ago. I didn't want to do this protest. I have bigger battles to fight on my plate. I fight for international injustice. I fight for rights of Pakistanis as well. I'm a political activist. I'm not your typical NGO auntie who likes to do vigils. This is not me. But I am seeing women of Pakistan getting abused at work to the point that I'm seeing decent girls from middle-class families, from conservative families, willing to take their clothes off on television because they're made to believe they cannot be noticed otherwise. They're made to believe that in order to get viral, in order to be accepted, they have to do it. And this is human rights abuse of the worst kind that the human rights organizations who are hypocrites will never fight for, will never defend. This is all I have to say. I hope it makes sense to you, but we are going to lose this society into a dungeon of darkness unless we act right now.